Welcome to Digital Ladies Unscripted, where we celebrate bold women shaping the future. I'm your host, Melissa, joined by my stellar co-hosts, the crafty Kita, the brilliant Kristen, and the visionary Amanda. How are you ladies doing this evening?
Hi, everybody. We're good.
Well,
It's Monday.
yeah, right. Monday. Geez. Tonight we're excited to spotlight our very own visionary Amanda, aka Optimistic Prime. She's a skoolie mom, truther, and mastermind behind the Wandering Footprint. Living on her beloved bus, lovingly named Optimistic Prime, she's passionate about digital sovereignty and has built a thriving ecosystem of tokens on the XRP Ledger to power her Wandering Footprint project. So get ready for an inspiring chat about her journey, her vibrant community that she's built, and her innovative ventures. This is going to be an unscripted chat, guys, and we're talking about her turning her nomadic lifestyle into a platform for innovation and community. So let's dive in, ladies. Oh, this is going to be such a good show. Welcome, everybody. There's 24 of you in here. Welcome to Digital Ladies Unscripted. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share this out. Let's get more people. If you have any questions, be sure to put them in all caps in the chat. But before we kick this off, since you have built, Amanda, on the XRP Ledger, I thought one of you guys could explain what XRP Ledger is, what's possible with the XRP Ledger. Any of you guys want to take that?
Yeah, well, I think almost anything is possible. The beauty of the XRPL is the fact that it deals with value, and whatever you can choose to have value, you can actually tokenize and actually put it right on the XRPL. So I think that it's really important that people understand that it's more than just a token. It's a whole ledger. And there's so many things that are being represented and done on the ledger, just like our lovely Miss Optimistic Prime is doing, as well as Miss Lady K. Listen, she's got her whole like a whole validator. And then Miss Optimistic Prime, we're going to hear about what she's doing on the XRPL, and it's freaking amazing.
So exciting. You have anything to add to that, Lady K?
Well, it's a decentralized network where you can issue tokens and you can tokenize assets. And so it's a great place to put value, like Kita said.
Nice. Amanda, I know this is hard because it's hard to add for anybody, and there's so many pieces to you, but can you share a brief overview of yourself? Who is Optimistic Prime and what drives you, to get us started?
Well, my name is Amanda Noel Camellia Jones Archer. My slogan is keep up with the Joneses, buy a bus, and become an archer. Because I live on this school bus, like you said, with my three beautiful children, 9, 7, and Jimmy Moon turns 6 tomorrow. Yeah, so we've been on the school bus for 7 years. You do the math. I got pregnant on the bus with Jimmy Moon, and that's really was the catalyst because, there's so much of the backstory on how we ended up here on Vancouver Island. But right before our anniversary and our birthdays in November of 2018, we were living on a farm and we got kicked off because of the local government not allowing tiny homes. So it was the end of our parental leave, and luckily in Canada, we get pretty decent amount of weeks of parental leave. So that's really what got us across the country. It's very little, but we did it. And then we were just in the forest with no money and nowhere to go. And, we trusted, God to sort of take a hold of our life. And some random guy showed up in the forest who had picked mushrooms, and he knew of a place that was hiring for the winter to harvest trees for the tree planter. So you pull them off out of the greenhouses. So we ended up there, and through that journey, I wanted to just create home for me and my family. We thought that this was going to be a 3-month summer trip, and then we'd find an apartment and a job. And That is not what happened. And then, of course, we got pregnant with Jimmy Moon that spring. And then we found ourselves. Am I cutting in and out? I look like I'm.
No,
Nope, you're not. You're doing just fine.
Okay, great. And so then we just happened to be working with the local indigenous people. And by some miracle, one of the people there knew of a family who had a piece of land. They told them our sort of predicament, that we were a young family with no support and another baby on the way. And so they had pity on us, and what was supposed to be 6 months has turned into 6 years. And so we live on a reservation on Tartlet First Nation on Vancouver Island, and they have offered us, this little piece of land for us to call home for all these years. And so what I really wish for us is that we have land and that we can offer the same for other families, but just be able to, improve the circumstances, i.e., we went 3 years without power. It'd be nice to be able to have power for people so that they can build out their bus and do things that like improvements, because our bus is just made of pellets and milk crates, and some spare wood here and there. And, one of the things about the farm we were kicked off of, they had a communal kitchen, and they had communal showers, and they had a hot tub, and they had a sauna, and they had a place where you could dance and do yoga. And, and so I really wanted to recreate that. So I took a lot of the ideas from that place. And ultimately that following year, I decided I wanted to make a tiny home show. Because what I thought was missing was this bridge between the locals and the nomadic people. There was this sort of staunch idea of what we were like, not that we were highly educated and that we were, responsible humans in the world. We had just chosen a different path. And so I created this tiny home show with the hope of bringing all these, people who were into this lifestyle together, and then the apocalypse hit. So basically, that was really super traumatizing. And, but I have over the years fostered a sense of pronoia. So I basically said, all right, God is working in your favor, even though you can't see it. And so I said, all right, your dream is that this is replicated around the world. So probably the fastest way to replicate this around the world is to not have the tiny homes show, but to recreate this online. And so from that point on, I was just investigating, what could a mom breastfeeding mom with 3 kids under 3 do on their phone, because that's all I had at the time was my phone. And so that pulled me into what was happening with Web3, that domain, and then that connection to the blockchain. And then as a truther, I just started truthing on TikTok, and I realized how afraid I was of blockchain. And so I just started, I talked to myself a lot, and I said, well, the things you fear the most will paralyze you. So you should probably just learn about the thing you're most afraid of. And then maybe by some miracle, you can find all the other people who were afraid and then educated themselves. And maybe one day you find all the people who have the same vision as you, and you can actually take the thing that they would have enslaved you and change the whole world with it. So that is what drives me. That's where all the vision came from. And ultimately, what really drives me is love. I love people very much, but I can't really stand most people. So this is my way of sort of bridging the gap and trying to love from afar, I suppose. And I truly believe everybody belongs, and that we're magnets. And if you allow people to move, they will be drawn to their people. And that's sort of my ultimate goal, is to allow people to find their family.
So it really kind of sounds like, I've heard you call it your skoolie lifestyle. It sounds like the unknown and the digital innovation that's going on. There's always been a lot of scare tactics surrounding that. So it kind of sounds like you decided to turn that into something good and educate yourself on that, right? Because you had some time living on the bus with little kids and a phone. What made you decide to build on the XRP Ledger? Or how did you find the XRP Ledger through your researching?
Honestly, I can't remember exactly, but what happened was, when I started delving in, it was the Doge days. And so I figured out, you know, the basics, how to get money from my bank account into Bitcoin, transfer it into Ethereum, and buy Doge. So I think at that point I did about $100, and then I had booked a tattoo sort of to commemorate this whole journey I was on. And I had no money. And the day that my tattoo appointment was like 3 months out, I'd never actually booked an appointment ever in my life. I'd always just like walked in. I took out my Doge, and it was $1,000, and that's what paid for the tattoo. So wow. From that, and then the 2 days later, or like 3 days later, it collapsed. So I just did it. I was totally on a random situation that I ended up taking that out. And then like 2 weeks later, it was worth nothing. So that was my first sort of like, ooh, this is nice. And so then obviously through that whole experience, I was like screenshotting how much transactions were costing, because I only bought $100. So if I was transferring $20 here, or, you know, $40 here, how much was disappearing in those transactions. And then through that, at one point I came across Stellar because of the truth thing. And what I was like, there's gotta be a cheaper, faster way to do this. I'm like, it's been, you know, 5 years. I'm like, they had to have figured this out. This is ridiculous. And so I found the ISO, you know, rumors, and the Basel, you know, 2, 3, 4 rumors. And I found that from the truthing side. So I actually got into Stellar at that time, and sort of navigated through, you know, sort of the rumors. And at the end of the day, I decided, well, you know, this is the best education I could possibly get by, you know, participating in these communities that think that Stellar is going to be something. And so that really helped me sort of learn the basics of like what a ledger is, and like how to look into the ledger, and how to make tokens, and how much it costs, and how fast. And so I learned about like the difference between, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRLM and XRP, and that like, you know, there are 12 and 18 transactions per second, I think, respectively. And then I had learned at that point that Stellar and XRP were like upwards of 1,000, 1,500, and they had been rumors that it could go to 10,000 per second. So I thought, what? And then when I looked at the cost of like a wallet and how to move it, and then what was crazy at the time was Stellar had launched, and super interesting, we're talking about this right now. Stellar had launched a connection with MoneyGram, and MoneyGram was connected to all the Canadian post offices. So through this journey, I was able to onboard money by going to any post office, and I actually tried it in a tiny post office in Canada, where I was working on the mainland, and it worked. And so my mom was blown, and it was free. Like, there was no cost. And so last year they removed that, which was really hard. We'll get back to XRP in a second. But yesterday they announced, Lobster announced that they now will do Interact transfers. So you can just send money from your bank account directly to your Lobster account, which I was like, what is happening? So back to the XRP Ledger, through those years, I just didn't have anybody. Like, all I had was a few TikTokers who were like my cheerleaders, you know, Becky and Shay, and later Susan and Merle, and Andrea and Chad. And that was it. I didn't have a Stellar community. And as I started, you know, talking more about blockchain and my projects on TikTok, I found the XRP community. And so all of a sudden I was talking with people who knew why I was so fond of these platforms, when so many of the people I had met over the years, like I was Titan of the Truth Tribe for Thrivolution, that's sadly has disbanded. But they kept pushing me to do Ethereum, and I was like, I can't. Like, my heart says XLM, XRP. And so from there, with Chad, he had created the blue collar dollar on XRP, and he told me it wasn't that hard. And so I taught him how to make tokens on Stellar, and he taught me how to make my first token on XRP, which was the XOM token. I'm pretty sure that was the very first token I made. And then it's just been sitting there for years, waiting for me to really understand how all of the system works and the best way to do tokenomics. And so I launched the Blue Umbrella token on February 29th. Sorry, that's my LF. February 29th, 2024, on leap year, because I was like, hopefully we can leap into the highest timeline and create heaven on earth. So I'm going to make a moon token. to bring all the truthers together, and maybe they'll find the wandering footprint, and maybe they'll see the dream I have and help me build it. So, there you go.
That is so.
It's just in our free time.
Well, let me tell you, this young lady can definitely give you all of the deets on on everything, and I love it. Do you mind if I ask the next question?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. No worries.
So how do you see your project supporting local farmers, artisans, and small businesses?
Yeah, so how my husband's watching the show. Apparently my kids just came over and it's like, your dad's watching you. So shout out to James. Well, so what I did is how I decided to recreate the Tiny Home Show was to make an app. So I found a drag and drop program. It was called the Tiny Home App Directory, so that if anybody was looking for Tiny Home or directory on the Google and Apple Play stores, they'd find me. And then that evolved, is now called the Wandering Home Directory. And essentially what I decided to do was recreate the Tiny Home Show on it. So the sections were wanderers, nomads, and then it was builders, and then healers and vendors. Exactly how I was going to lay out the Tiny Home Show. And so in each of those categories was a breakdown of, everybody I could find. And then I also had like freedom info and a whole bunch of other things. And so my hope was in my experience, what was happening is that we were all paying for our enslavement, and all of our money was going towards, big companies and not the little guy. And that it mattered, where your products come from and how they're made and who's behind them. And so I basically just started going to all the Facebook groups that were against the mandates. And I just was like, all right, I'm going to make an app for all of you people who are getting kicked out of society, and we're going to make our own society. And then because it was sort of really hard to navigate, reaching out to people and sort of going through that whole transition of saying, we stood for sovereignty and we stood for choice and at all costs. And that was our line. We lost a lot of support. So for me, what I basically decided to do for my moral compass was I started doing affiliate links. So essentially, the plan is and is still that anybody can add affiliate links if they don't have their own products. But you add yourself. But you can add any of the products you love and the people you love and hopefully get an affiliate link from them. And that slowly we create an ecosystem that turns into farms around the world, connected by truckers, the original tiny home people. And so we can move goods and services. And, some farms will have like wool processing, and some farms, like, I think eventually you just have people sort of taking on the thing that they love the most. And so if you can create an ecosystem that provides, where your money's going and your money's going back into the same people that want the same dream as you, I think we have a much better chance instead of constantly sending our money to the people that don't really need it.
Love it. I love the laugh at the end as well. I think that's awesome. And so what do you think makes the XRPL unique for creators and entrepreneurs compared to other blockchains?
Well, I mean, the community. I think for sure between, so my top two are obviously Stellar and XRP, because I make tokens on both of them. They're almost exactly the same. In terms of like how you do it, what the background looks like, the whole process, what's needed. And, but really it's, how fast it is, how easy it is. Once I found out that you didn't have to, my first token was 100 XRP. My second token was 100 XRP. And then I found TextRP, Will, and he's like, you don't have to pay 100 XRP. I said, what are you talking about? So he walked me through the coding. And so my other two tokens were done for free. 0.0012, the cost of a transaction. So that was, exceptional. And so for me, it's like what Zoj always talks about, classy Zoj, you know, William, like it's us, right? Like it offers the mom on living on a school bus with a phone the opportunity to, you know, even try to like put, you know, dip a toe into this financial system that otherwise at all times in history was unavailable to us. You know, we really have a chance here. And so for me, it's the fact that just the technology itself, how cheap it is, how fast it is, and then it's really the community. Because
can I ask you a question? So you're touching on something that's really striking a chord with me, and something that I've noticed as well. I mean, you mentioned, you know, a lot of people, you know, encourage people to build on Ethereum and these other blockchains. And you did your own research. You looked into Stellar, you looked into XRP Ledger, and you discovered that you could create tokens there for a fraction of the cost, have more control, and not only that, the people that are actually buying your tokens or your NFTs aren't being charged exorbitant fees either. And you mentioned classy Zoj William, who created Mad Lab. The thing which I would like Lady K, if she would address this, in the fact that a lot of people don't understand this about the XRP Ledger, the incredible tools that are there, the gift that has been given to regular everyday people like yourself, like a skoolie mom living on a bus with a phone with 3 children, to be able to create, take her vision and create something and not have it cost an arm and a leg, and utilize tools that are available to them. And the reason I wanted Lady K to address this is because, Lady K, you've actually taken the courses to kind of go through and learn how to do all this. And Amanda, you too, with the Easy A app, you've taught yourself how to do that. Can you speak to that a little bit, Lady K?
Yeah, I mean, the XRPL has so many built-in features that we call primitives, right? I mean, we have checks, and we have NFTs, and we have the MM, and we have you can issue tokens, and you can set flags. You can choose to enable rippling or not. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we don't have a wallet yet that allows us to interact with every feature that we could. But if you know how to send the transaction yourself to the network, you have to know the code though, you can do that. And that's what Amanda figured out, right? Like Xamin and so many other platforms said, hey, for $100, we'll let you issue a token. And then somebody showed Opti, it's decentralized. You can do it yourself. You just have to learn how.
And see, you Amanda, you said, you mentioned the community that's out here. We're learning about the tools that are out there. I mean, you literally did not have any coding experience. You have a vision. You saw a problem. You took real world issue, and you're creating this ecosystem. And you know, we're 23 minutes into the show. I would love for you to be able to expand on the Wandering Footprint itself. I know you have a collection of tokens that are supposed to kind of work interactively with one another. Can you just kind of give an overview of your vision, and then it kind of circles back into the XRP Ledger and why that made it even possible for you to build your vision?
Before you do that, I want to give a shout out to the 180 people that are watching us.
Thanks, guys.
Today. We're streaming on IMU TV, here on YouTube, as well as on the X app. And I have to give a shout out to all of you that are here, because when it comes down to it, this story needs to be heard. And I'm so excited.
Amen. 180, episode 3, and we got 180. That's fantastic.
We're so excited. Go for it.
First of all, you know, all 3 of these ladies are Wandering Footprint 2025 nomads. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, the 3 of you mean so much to me. So Yeah, okay. So where are we at? 2025 Nomads. So essentially for years, this was, part of the journey is how can I commemorate the people that were cheering me on at the beginning when we all had no money and we just had a vision and I just had this crazy idea. And so what I started doing, my original 2024 Nomad um, uh, memberships were tokens and they were tokens on Stellar. And I only made 1,000 kind of thing. And, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to end up doing with those, probably just burn them. Although, the people that were there in the beginning, maybe they just want it for fun, there's 8 tokens. But what I ended up doing is realizing I could turn them into NFTs. So I actually recreated the founder and 2024 Nomad NFTs this past year. I gave them to the original 8. And then I made the 2025 Nomads this year. And so that was a journey because when I started, it was the old protocol. And so there was no GIFs, there was no MP4s, and then that got upgraded. And so as the years gone on, and as I've sort of improved my understanding of how NFTs are made, I've drastically improved the look of these NFTs. And so each one has a number on it. They're all individualized, and the last 50 or so are they're a part of a song I made about the wandering footprint. So each one together sort of makes the whole song. There's 72 in total, and that's just because that's where the song ended. It was at 72. And with the hope that, if we got to 67, I would make another song. And I won't burn them, so they'll exist forever, regardless if you got one this year. But for me, those are the people that my life is intertwined with forevermore. And everything I do is for those people. And, hopefully one day there will be 1 million. That's the goal. And hopefully one day there will be a homesteader. There won't just be a nomad. There'll be a homesteader NFT too. And that will represent all the farms and the people that are building their own communities. So with that, the original token was called the Optimistic token, the OM coin on Stellar. And then through my journey through sovereignty, I learned that XRP, Ripple, XLM, Lumen, X meant sovereignty. X meant wasn't owned by a country. And so I thought, isn't this fascinating that I own a token called OM and now I know about XOM? So I was like, I'm going to make a token called XOM and maybe that'll be the sovereignty token and maybe that'll give us an out. I don't know. So I made the XOM token on November 11th, 2023. I can't believe it's 2 years now. I've been wanting to actually launch it. I haven't given one token away, haven't sold it or anything in 2 years. I was really hoping to launch it this November. But the conversations haven't really gotten to that point with the Nomads or all of you yet. So I think we're all still at the point where we're learning. And so maybe I should wait a little bit longer, but I have some ideas that we should probably have a Nomad meeting at one point and discuss, the future in that regard. But the dream of the XOM token is that that's the main currency on the Wandering Home directory. So essentially you get in and then you can be paid and pay with the XOM token. And so your, moments of transferring into your currency doesn't have to happen until you need it so that it can stay in the ecosystem and hopefully avoid a lot of the sort of control mechanisms that they're going to establish for all the other currencies. And then the Blue Umbrella token was made, like I told you guys, on the leap year. And that's my meme token. And it was inspired from Lahaina. And those 5 blue umbrellas that stood tall. And everything else was burnt except those damn blue umbrellas. And so, that started off as sort of I made blue umbrellas as merch for the Wandering Footprint first. And then I decided to make this token. God told me to do it on February 27th. And I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. And it was just you got to do it. You got to do it on the 29th. And I was like, ah. And so figuring that all out. And it really has been a beacon of hope for me. And James jokes that we need to make blue umbrellas with that. not Kevlar, but something that like night vision can actually see through, so that you can actually carry it through for like drones and heat and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cute. But just like an idea of being protected. That was sort of the dream, was that the blue umbrella represented, being part of something. And that, the nice thing about an umbrella is like, I can hold an umbrella and you can hold an umbrella. It's not me. I'm not the umbrella. Is that we are holding umbrellas together, protecting ourselves from, the rain and the insanity. And so that's really been my calling card. And, learning more about maritime law and flag law. The blue umbrella is sort of like my flag, the flag of wandering footprint and of what I'm trying to create. And then we have the footprints token, which none of you really know much about. It's also just sitting there. First one was made on Stellar. What my dream is that represents work trade. So essentially I did the math on like, at the farm I was telling you guys about before that we lived on, you worked 5 days for 5 hours a day, and then you got both of your days on your weekend off, and every day you got breakfast and a home cooked lunch. And so I was trying to do the math. So if you did 5 days, you got 2 days off. You did 3 or 4 days, you got 1 day off. And if you did 1 or 2, then you had to pay. So you could either work trade or you could pay to stay, which really allows people to, do what they want to and have their own job if they can get a job that's, paying more. But like people like us who didn't have a job and have no money, we actually still could live and like survive and, have food at least a little bit. And so we only had to buy our own dinners, like the food to make dinners with. So that was really wonderful. So I was trying to recreate that on the blockchain. And so essentially what I sort of did the math on is that if you gave everybody 1 footprint for each hour and you got, 4 each day, then, accumulate, and maybe it would take 3 to stay overnight, then you'd have the rollover. You know what I mean? I'm not doing the math right when I'm explaining it to you right now. I have it on a piece.
It makes sense though.
Okay. So that essentially, if you worked over and this would allow you to not have to work at a specific time, but you could take shift and just report it as your hourly wage. And then in my mind, the more you're involved and the more educated you are on a subject, like let's say a carpenter, like a Red Seal carpenter, maybe he gets 3 an hour. So he could, only work for a couple of hours and still have his, his ability to stay, over time. So the dream of that is that I don't necessarily see farmers giving out every day, but what I do see is that like maybe at the end of the week, if you have like an extra one, you get that extra one, and so that you can start accumulating them. And that, we've had lots of conversations about like, well, then then they could accumulate them and go to another farm and then use them all up. And then the other farmer's going to be pissed. And so, some of the ideas we've had is that maybe people could accumulate them to be part of the Manifestival, our dream of a music festival at our farm with IMU TV. Shout out to IMU TV and Niall.
We're streaming live on IMU TV right now. For those of you who don't know, imutv.tv. If you go to Web3, you will see Digital Ladies Unscripted streaming live on there right now. Before you move on to that, though, Amanda, I do have there's two things that popped in my head while you were talking. Number one, we talk about the blockchain, it's a digital ledger, right? And you're talking about bartering. And so your own coin or your footprints token, it's kind of a record keeping, so to speak, of the barter system where, you're able to use that as the value in exchange for whatever you want to use it for. So that's one thing that really stands out to me, because it takes away from the necessity for the people that are that are handling this barter, they have something to offer, right? They're getting and earning, and it's all being documented on the blockchain, on the ledger, automatically for you, which is really super cool. The other thing I wanted you to touch on, and the other ladies can chime in on this as well, is that don't forget that the value of your tokens is tied to XRP. The value of each one of those tokens is a fraction of an XRP. And so the whole concept of creating an ecosystem where it's staying inside the ecosystem, man, you're like you're holding value XRP, and as XRP goes up, so does the value of your ecosystem, right?
Well,
am I wrong here, guys? I mean, that's why I see.
And then I'd covet it and I'd never sell it. And then all my dreams could come true because XRP would go to, some ridiculous number. And so so the dream was to do and Stellar too, right? Is to do all this work at the beginning. And so then the people that weren't here, they can still wander home with us, that we could become the true humanitarian we were born to be. So that's really, that's why I don't push my stuff, because this is just all hypothetical magic in my mind. God said, made it, do it, and I did it. But this could all not work. But then at the same time, I feel like with you guys, I think it could. And the more I hang out here and the more I meet the people and the more I see what's possible, even knowing that it's possible right now, that so one of the goals in the next year will be to create I guess they call them bots, that, that they track how much effort you're putting into the wandering footprint. So I don't have to wait till the homesteads, but that even this, anytime you're talking about it or mentioning it, that you get a fraction of a footprint. And so talking about what you were saying, what I'm hoping is that it ends up being you could trade it in for things, or maybe bonus whatever discounts on things, just so that people can spend them not just at the homesteads, but to start sort of using effort, right? Is that I wanted to reward effort and then at least be able to document how much time and effort people have put into me and my project for free. And so that when I am a billionaire, I can pay them all back. And so that's the real dream, is to just, encourage and support and, help everybody else fulfill their dreams. And so the final token is the Yahweh token. And the Yahweh token is spelled YAWAY. It was made at 12/24 on December 24th. It was Christmas, blockchain Christmas this year, James said. He said, oh my gosh, he spent 36 hours over Christmas on the damn thing because it wouldn't work. And so I did, but I did it. I made it happen. I'm so proud of myself. It's UTC even. And the dream is that will be the like button and all the things I do. And so it'll be your tip. So on TikTok, where they send, the different things that are, pennies, but instead of us taking 90% like TikTok does, it's free. It's part of the exchange. You exactly what you're giving because the pool exists, or however we end up doing it. So the Yahweh token for me is as a representation. You were saying at the beginning, tokenizing all things valuable. Well, for me, it's love and kindness. And my dream is that will be an onboarding thing. When you see somebody, an act of kindness, you can give them a card and it says, I noticed your act of kindness today. Get on XRP and redeem this card for 888 or 777 Yahweh tokens. And I don't know if I can turn it into a foundation or a charity, but right now, any money that comes in through the NFTs is going towards projects I've found on the XRP Ledger, Lady Dead and Able, and this other one that buys food for homeless people. And I think the Philippines, I can't remember. I should really check that out. And so, the people that are doing good in the world, we just want to support them. And that goes for anybody. Or, maybe you need a couple bucks, maybe I can tip you some Yahweh tokens and you can go buy your family food. I don't know what
Mr. Sam says Yahweh is the way.
I like it. And I do have to give a shout out to the 227 people that are viewing our lovely show. But I do have a question for you. What lessons would you share with someone who wants to create something similar to what you have created?
Good question.
Join the Wandering Footprint. No.
Hey, that's the simplest.
like
No, but that's the simplest thing that you could do, because if in a real sense, it's giving you the blueprint, right?
It's the community, yeah.
It's the community, and so if you can branch off, like some of the most successful situations come from branching off of an actual set in stone situation. I know, right? I'm talking about stone here, talking about set in stone.
Coffee and Crypto with Stone, 9 a.m. to 11,
right.
Monday through Friday on X Spaces. Lady K,
Yeah.
after you.
You won't mind.
Yep. So definitely look at how the brain works. So, I definitely would love to hear that answer.
Well, first of all, it occurred to me a couple months ago that with the Blue Umbrella and the Wandering Footprint, we really are the blueprint. And we're finding all the people that are the blueprint. That's our goal. And my dream has always been take it. If you take my dream and you make it yours, please just send us 3.69% of your profits. I'll never hunt you down, but help us build our dream while you help build yours. That's really what I'd love to have happen, to be honest with you. And in terms of advice, major thing, don't try to bypass the relationships. That was something that I was trying to do, and I did it for years. I was really afraid of people during the apocalypse, and I was trying to make this without this reciprocation. And I noticed that I wasn't giving as much attention that I needed to the people who were giving me the attention. And so that's really what I've tried to do here on the XRPL. It's a lot, and the X, X, because that's what I think they're the same thing at this point, because I only really interact with XRPL people on X. But for me, one of the nicest things is finding all of you where I can tag you, because one of my biggest pet peeves is I want to scream from the rooftops all the wonderful people. And so often I've had, don't tag me, don't let anybody know I exist. And it's like, okay, like this is hard. And so it's really wonderful to meet people who, it's a reciprocal thing, and to really allow, after 5 years of it not happening, I really had to just accept that this was a very long-term goal, and this wasn't going to happen anytime soon, and that it really was finding the people, and give yourself patience, give God patience, in that it's, the energy field is working in the background. And so when, things aren't working out for you, or, that token's not, working, or that NFT isn't working, or, whatever thing comes into your space that's just not working, just take a breather, walk away, go touch some grass, go for a walk, hang out with your family. The energy's working in the background. And what I've found is we have 42 nomads, and that is all. But they are the most impressive human beings I have ever met in my life. And I believe that God was like, nope, you shall not be part of this right now. One day you'll figure it out, and one day you can be part of it. But these are the people that get to say they were there in the beginning. And I feel like, one of the things the three of you, specifically Melissa, has done for me is, shouting me out all the time, appreciating me, tagging me, really filling my cup up so that I feel the same. We stopped having our Wandering Footprint calls on Wednesdays. That was our day. And we stopped because I was like, we're on the you want to know what I'm up to? Come to the Dip and Tell show, because you'll find out what I'm talking about this week, because that's my life now. My life is, hey, Melissa, what's going on today? And so really put the effort into yourself and into the other people, and reach out, come to Coffee and Crypto if you, just to create the community that you need, so that if you're running into problems or you're running into scams, you have a community that you can that are real humans that do care. And just dream a little dream, man. Just believe that if you can imagine it, right now we live at a time where if you can imagine it, it truly could. If you just stop wasting your time focusing on all the damn negative.
We have been given such a gift, you guys. Some people think about it being negative. You referenced how long it took. It's taking longer than you thought it was going to take, and that sort of thing. And if the value of XRP had shot up like everybody had hoped, the hopes and dreams and all of that, a lot of this building would be much more difficult, right? Right now, with the prices low, you have the opportunity for us to beta test your stuff, to even buy into these projects that are getting off the ground, create this important ecosystem of people, and build the trust. And I think you've done a fantastic job with building the trust. You've shown your face, you say who you are, you're putting yourself out there. And so I think that's incredibly important. And so for those people that, might be a little bit frustrated, recognize the opportunity that we've been given here. Lady K, do you have, I know you had a bunch of questions, and I don't know that we've got to all of them. So I want to give you the opportunity to ask some of the ones that we might have missed that you have chomping at the bit for.
Well, it's interesting, Opti, that you said like community, basically relationships was so important. And it's interesting because currency is an illusion, right? I mean, value is real, but it's an opinion. So you do have to get the buy-in of everyone else. And so I'm curious, what's been challenging about building your community?
Good question.
Well, my very first thought while you're talking is the Yahweh token. It was an experiment in like what's possible. So how I first started doing it was just giving it away and asking people to give it away. And then I set a tipper faucet up that if you had 777, you got blue umbrella tokens. So it was very interesting to track, and if you go back to the ledger, you can see, who's giving them away and who is not. And so that was a very fascinating experiment, because exactly what you said, we did this together. Ultimately, something is only valuable if somebody else says it's valuable, and it's valuable at the price that they say it's valuable. So, because there was no pool, because there was no baseline, I had about 100 people, and I gave them, I think most of them got seven eights, I think was, or 8 7s. I can't remember. Anyways, so there was a decent amount out there. But a tiny fraction of how many there were made. And so realizing that, there was 2 occasions where I have 15,000 XRP in my wallet, and it's all Yahweh. And I was like, oh no, you do not. Like, that is because one person sold one for like, a 0.5 of an XRP or something. And so that was sort of really hard to realize that, like, I had not wanted to sell it. And I realized that by not placing at least a sale order, I was allowing it to sort of have its own value that had no relationship to like how many tokens were available and how I wanted to give them out. And so that was hard, and it still is hard to navigate, and so much. I mean, I've given myself permission to not promise very much, and sort of, like you said, building trust. And like, that's one thing that I have to say that I'm very proud of myself, is that like, I am who I am. My entire story is on the internet. Like, one of the best stories of Melissa and I is, do you want to tell it? We only have 10 minutes left. Do you want to tell it?
You tell it.
Okay, so please pipe in because it's better coming from you. But at one point, because Melissa's always skeptical of every single person, right? And so like, this is one thing we talk about all the time. And so, I have literally shared the entire journey of my life, because when I was younger, I kept saying like, at one point in your life, it's going to matter how much of your life you've shared. So if people can come back and like find out that you really are who you say you are, right? You're not just some sketchy person who just showed up. And so I really have shared my entire journey in blogs and stuff. And so Melissa tells me like a few months, like it's been probably 6 months now. And she's like, when I first met you, I totally thought that you're like an actress, like putting on a show, and that like, you were one of those people where they
make shows about it. I'm just saying.
It's true. That's what those reality shows are for. And look, this is a reality show right now. We've got 251 people in this space watching us across IMU TV, on YouTube, as well as on the X app. That is a freaking game changer. And that is all because of you, Miss Optimistic Prime.
Hey, man. Well, and here's the deal, Opti. Like, if you look at your story and you like, when Ryan heard you speak, he said, she says a lot of words, but there's so much meaning behind every single word that she says. Like, what she's saying is important, right? And I'm like, yeah, like who is this awesome to like be able to like put all this stuff out? So it started like, I started like, well, she'd have to be a damn good actress to actually be able to pull this off. But now I come from an improvisational theater background. So I'm like, well, it's not too far-fetched if you develop your character or whatever. But I have seen those shows, you know, where people live and, you know, they live on a bus and they're doing all this. And I'm like, maybe she's one of those people. And she just laughed. She howled when I told her that I thought she was an actress.
Like, that's the joke. It's like when we set off into this, I thought, oh yeah, I'm charismatic. Sorry, my battery is gonna die, so I actually had to just charge it so I can make it for the rest of the show. Because I live on a school bus. Honestly, like, I was hoping that, like, you know, we'd make YouTubes and people would watch us and pay us just to live. 7 years later, no, that's not the situation we find ourselves in. So I mean, ultimately, I was never going to be an actress.
On YouTube, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I stopped really making videos because
I think people would watch your life all day long, to be honest with you, to tell you the honest truth.
Too much. And I mean, I had to grow up a lot too, right? Having little kids, and like it was pretty insane there for a few years, especially in the middle of the apocalypse. So, you know, one of the goals this year, I've decided to homeschool the kids. You know, I always have goals and they seem to not all come to fruition right away, but we have a new bus. This is him, or and Metatron bus, Metatron BS, anything is possible out of the darkness. So the dream is to build that bus out properly. And I'm hoping, I was doing research this week on just like, you know, stands that make it easier, because with 3 little kids, it's really hard. And it would be nice to be able to, you know, just do the, at least share, you know, that this process after this many years is pretty crazy that we haven't built out the other bus and that our bus isn't that great. But, you know, things are coming together. And ultimately one day, you know, we will be sharing our travels again and stuff. And the past 5 years have really been about just sharing my journey in my mind, you know, just like the perseverance through the darkness. And, you know, my hope is that when I die, that I've shared enough, that I'm proud enough, that I believe that people only change when they're inspired. You can try to change people all you want to. You can force them. The government can make all these rules and regulations, but you know, that's pretend. That's make believe. People only change when they're inspired. And so for me, it's like I've lived a life of like, I just want to inspire myself. I just want to like be super proud of like what I've accomplished in my life. And I feel like when you see what's possible for somebody like me, you tell yourself, well, if she can do it. I always used to joke that, you know, for a lot of years there, people felt pretty sorry for me and I felt pretty sorry for myself. And ultimately, I realized that the greatest gift of that part of the journey was that I have met thousands of people that said, well, at least I'm not Amanda. Oh, at least I'm not Amanda. And so now they can be like, well, if I thought that I was in a better situation before and Amanda has come this far, then I can do it too. Then I can put my mind to anything and I can believe in any of my dreams and I can make them happen. And, you know, that's really my greatest dream, is that people believe in themselves. You know, self-love is the rebellion. You know, the deletes run this world to make you miserable and to fear life and to fear each other and to be demoralized so that you don't create heaven on earth. And we have an opportunity right now, unlike anything in history of humankind. And I believe if we come together and just cheerlead each other on, you know, the magic comes, the next door opens. You know, you have to get through the first door. So start with your little kid dreams, you know, build that first dream you had. And then as soon as you do it, the next dream shows up, you know, and so this journey is a culmination of everything I ever dreamed of. Finally, it was meeting my biological father, whom we might actually see tomorrow on Jimmy Moon's birthday.
That's
May
awesome.
So, once that door closed, all of a sudden there was a whole new journey, opened, and that's the journey of Optimistic Prime and the Archers and you guys and the Nomads and the Wanderers.
Awesome. So we've got one more question before we get out of here because we've got 5 minutes. Not even, but how can people participate in the Wandering Footprint or your XRPL projects, and are there membership requirements?
Jimmy Moon's at the window. And
happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, little buddy!
You're such a cutie.
It's when you wake up tomorrow morning. I think he had a nap, so he thought today was already the 16th. I haven't slept yet. It's only an hour. So right tonight, when you wake up in the morning. Yeah.
It's like, no.
The kids came to the window and were like, Jimmy's sleeping. Can we blow up the balloons? And then I was like, just go away. I'm on the call. And then I just brought the balloons in. So he must have just woken up and thought, it's got to be today. Meanwhile,
it's my birthday now.
Yeah. How do people get involved? Well, get to know me and check out, the wanderingfootprint.org and see if we align with what you believe in and who you are. And then consider purchasing a 2025 Nomad and being part of what we're trying to create. We have a list of tokens that we support, specifically, Arc and Reaper, and Greg and Patrick L. Riley's whole ecosystem. I'm hoping that eventually we can back everything with their gold and silver and just, have basically superimpose our system on theirs, and empower the people. And then consider buying Blue Umbrella tokens and Blue Umbrella NFTs. We are launching our NFT collection. Fingers crossed if I get everything sorted in a month. On November 5th, remember the 5th of November, the 1-year anniversary of our first sort of walking into, Guy Fawkes and this whole, Blue Umbrella thing, and the anniversary of Trump being elected. And so I know Lady K and Stone are going to be in New York on the day, which is so crazy, because it's literally since last year.
To finally meet Stone.
Oh, it's so, I'm going to be so sad because you guys aren't going to be able to hang out all day on this NFT launch. But just like it happened on the Saturday, right? It's a big day. It's the energy field that's celebrated. And I'm so excited you guys are going to be together. It would be pretty cool if I could be there too, but anyways, buy Nomad NFTs so I can go to New York. Anybody, and just so you know, anybody who is a Nomad this year, we will be, hopefully, if y'all send me your write-ups, The Wanderer. If you really want to know what we've been up to for the past 4 years, you can go check out The Wanderer, which is our newsletter / 42-page magazine. This in October, I'm hoping to feature all the Nomad projects. So anybody that is already a Nomad, what they're working on, each one have a 2-page spread with, whatever. And then all of your logos will be included in the NFT collection, along with all the sayings that people have given me over the year. And then all of our NFTs you get if you go to Tipper, tipper-x.com. Every day you get our tokens, the Blue Umbrella token. And then at this point, I'm leaning towards the 2025 Nomads will be the foundation of the XOM token. So, what we divvy up and what we, decide to do with that, and help create, whether it's the DAO or, where we're headed is the foundation of the people that are supporting us right now. But we have everything. And then hopefully in 2026, we'll have the Wandering Home Directory launched again. There's so much more coming, obviously. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And guys, we're coming at the end of the show. We're going to make it because we have a 1 hour for the live streaming at IMU TV. please go to wanderingfootprint.org. It's a beautiful website. It has all the information about all the tokens and everything and how to find Optimystic Prime. Please join us in the after space on X. I posted it in the chat. You can look at any of our profiles and you'll be able to find it easily. We'll retweet it out. Please join us. It's going to be a great conversation. And with that, ladies, thank you. Wonderful third episode. Stay tuned next week, next Monday, 9 p.m. We have Jane and hopefully the creator, Christelle Buchanan from Chat and Build, come and join us on Digital Ladies Unscripted. And with that, we bid you adieu and we will see you next week. Have a good rest of the day.